Hello folks, more and more I'm being asked about audio for videos. Schools, teachers are producing more and more audio content and quite often the sound can be a bit of a letdown. So here's a three-part guide to how you can get good sound on your videos. In this first part we're going to look at connector options. Second, we're going to look at the most popular mics on the market. And third, we're going to test them. So firstly, understanding the connector types. You're all familiar with the earphone style socket called a phono mini jack. Now they actually come in two types. So there's a single connector which is called TRRS. So there's two dividing lines usually making a tip and then the center ring and then the sleeve. And some connectors connect a mic and earphones. They'll have three dividing lines making two center rings. So you have a tip, a ring and a sleeve, or TRRS. So what gets confusing sometimes is some mics might be designed for phones and they're compatible with TRRS, like this Rode connection here. Some of them are designed for cameras or PCs with separate sockets and they just have a TRS. Now if that's the case, you can get around this by having an adapter. So this adapter here splits the TRRS into a separate microphone and earphone socket. So you can see they've got little icons on them there. So if you have a microphone that's only got a TRS designed for a mic socket, you can plug it into this part of the connector. You can plug earphones into that, and that way you can get your single connector type mic into your smartphone using a TRS adapter. Of course, if your phone doesn't have a earphone or a TRS style socket, then you're going to need a USB adapter. So you get these USB-C, which is the most common type of connector phones have now, or there's the Apple Lightning connector to TRRS, and you can go that way, and that can do it that way. Some of the Rode products, for instance, have specific cables to bring their mics into TRRS, and some of the Rode mics actually have onboard TRRS connectors if they're designed for smartphones. But generally, the mics that are more designed for cameras won't have that. Now, older PCs used to always have separate connectors, but you see on more modern PCs that quite often they'll have the TRS, and the way you can usually tell is the icon beside the socket will have a kind of mic and earphone combined. Now, other connectors then involve USB. Now, unfortunately, mics don't seem to update the connector type quite as often as other devices, so even kind of still mics that are still on the market like the Yeti and the Zoom H2 here will use the really old style USB connector called a mini USB, the kind of square one. This is a micro USB. You don't really see that much on mics. That's the older style USB that was replaced ostensibly by USB-C. Now, if you have one of these type of mics, you'll generally come to a standard USB-A connector, so you've no problem plugging them into a PC. But what you might not be aware of is that if you get a USB-C to USB-A adapter like this, so it's a USB-C or phone style connector, or your newer laptop style connector to the older style of USB cable, most USB mics will work happily with Android phones and Apple as well. So you might want to double check compatibility on the website, but generally I've had good experience. Like any of these mics with USB will work with the USB-C on the phones I've had. Now what you find in terms of quality is sometimes that the older style connectors, especially if you're running longer cables, doing interviews, etc., they're more prone to interference because essentially these mics are digital, so they're capturing the signal in a digital format, then they're converting it to analog to send it along the connector, and then the phone is converting it back from analog into digital again, so there's a bit of a loss. Whereas if you're going USB, you generally have digital to digital transmission, so you're getting the full quality straight from the mic. I hope this helps and helps you understand how mics are connected, and we'll have a look at the most popular mics in the next video.